And I'm Priya Sridhar of Yahoo Finance, coming to you live from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. Some of the stocks you'll want to watch today coming up in just a minute, but first a look at what's set to move markets this morning. The most recent terrorist attacks happened in 2008. It was a series of shootings that happened in the Taj hotels. 164 people were killed there. It was said to have been Islamic terror. Although the Nigerian military knew about that, and one of their responsibilities is to help the people of those regions evacuate that area if they want to escape. And basically, the evidence that this report shows is that the Nigerian military asked for reinforcements and they essentially didn't get it. President Hadi said that he actually supports the United States drone campaign, and the United States has obviously provided a lot of logistical and financial support to the Yemeni government in sort of trying to combat these Houthi rebels. Do you think that support is likely to continue? In layman's terms, without using SDRs and currency baskets here, if I am an average American sitting on my couch, no, I just want you to break it down for me. Should I be freaking out that everyone's talking about ditching the dollar? I mean, how is this going to affect me?
Endosulfan is a pesticide banned in most countries, but still widely embraced by farmers in India. However, its use carries grave consequences, with a whole generation of children suffering devastating health problems. And while the government claims there's no affordable alternative to the chemical, ordinary families are paying the price. You may find some of the images in Priya Sridhar's report distressing.
This girl's body is the size of a baby, but in reality, she's 5 years old. In her short life, Bath Saria has endured an operation to reduce the size of her abnormally large head. And she's not the only one suffering like this.
The doctor said that we have to put a tube into our child's head, otherwise there would be complications.
And Saria's mother thinks she knows what's caused it. Here in the cashew plantations in India's southern state of Kerala, the government sprayed a highly controversial pesticide, endosulfan, on the crops during the 90s. That, the people here say, is causing a generation of deformed children. Victims groups believe there are around 9,000 children like Saria, with swollen heads and developing at only half the rate they should. For some parents, that prospect is too much, choosing abortion, sometimes disturbingly late.
My daughter was operated on in the 8th month of her pregnancy.
Until recently, India was the only country in the world which allowed the use of endosulfan. The Agricultural Ministry said there was simply no other cheap alternative to the powerful pesticide. But after mounting pressure at home and abroad, the Supreme Court voted on an 8-week ban of the pesticide, which is set to expire in mid-July. While studies show that endosulfan causes severe developmental and reproductive problems in both humans and animals, proponents of the pesticide say their rivals are the ones pushing this ban.
This pressure is only from EU because the EU has various newly invented patented product, which are awaiting to enter the market.
But the families of the sick feel that they've been forgotten for long enough.
There is no value for a human life. It's all about the money. People don't care about each other these days. People who have money are categorized as high caste, and the poor people are counted as low caste. And nobody cares whether we are dead or alive.
The families are drained, emotionally and financially. Their life savings wiped out to care for their severely disabled children.
I feel very sad when I see my child like this. Though it's disturbing, we have to tolerate it.
There's little point waiting for government relief. Repeated requests fall on deaf ears in the capital. All these families can do is make the most of the short lives their disfigured children will have. Most will die before their 20th birthday. Priya Sridhar, RT, Kerala, India.
When goods like PCs and telephones are past their best, firms are getting around regulations and using countries like India as a dumping ground, as RT's Priya Sridhar reports.
It's the sound Americans love to hear, the sound of the latest laptop or the newest netbook. Studies show that these days the useful lifespan of a computer is only 2 years. And every day, Americans dump their junk in the hope of keeping up with the Joneses, tallying up to a total of 3 million tons of electronic waste every year. But where does it all go? Welcome to Selampur, a predominantly Muslim, mostly poverty-stricken area of East Delhi, where thousands of Indians come to turn trash into what they see as a tiny treasure.
My work is collecting these electronic scraps and dismantling them. That's how I make my living.
Muhammad Azam is 32 years old and has been tearing apart this trash for 10 years.
In a day, we get goods worth rupees 400 to 500.
Split between friends, Azam can sell the raw materials and make about $1 a day. Unlike regular trash that can simply be tossed away, in many developed countries, including parts of the U.S., electronic waste must be sent to a special collection agency that is supposed to responsibly recycle the parts. However, while it can cost these agencies anywhere from $15 to $30 to properly recycle a computer, they can actually make the same amount if they ship it to a developing country like India, where eager buyers think they can turn a profit on the goods. Delhi is fast becoming one of the biggest e-waste dumping sites in the world. Trash from developed countries comes here to India, where those with few options for survival hope to cash in on this junk. And even though it's illegal under the Basel Convention to ship hazardous material to India, companies define the junk as secondhand goods or mixed metals to customs officials to get away with it.
Many countries feel that they need the second-hand computers because they feel it's a low way of putting computerization in the country. But what they get in exchange for that is really junk.
Ravi Agarwal is the director of Toxics Link, a group dedicated to protecting migrant workers from the dangers of electronic waste.
In Delhi, workers hammering away, putting strong acids, exposing themselves to fume, all kinds of occupational hazards.
It's a reality most of these workers know all too well. But for them, it's a dirty job that, at least for now, gives them a means to survive.
I know what I do is not good for my health, but I have no other source of income. No other job, so I have to do something or the other.
A horror that those with no choices are sometimes forced to accept. Priya Sridhar, RT, New Delhi, India.
Not everyone's benefiting from the boom, with some people tragically selling their own body parts to survive, and the illegal grim organ trade thriving because donors are hard to come by, as Priya Sridhar has been discovering.
Kala Arumagan is alone in her tiny, empty apartment in Chennai. Like many Indians who struggle to make ends meet, Kala is constantly in debt, despite selling pretty much everything she has, including her own kidney.
I went to a broker. He told me that I could sell my kidney. I agreed because I was in a bad situation and my children were small. We did not even have any food to eat.
When the 2004 tsunami hit the coast of South Asia, Kala was one of hundreds of thousands of people who lost everything. In order to get back on her feet, she got a loan that she was later unable to repay.
We had a lot of debt. I had to borrow money to buy the fishing boat. The people I borrowed money from started asking me for money. They said they will come home and embarrass us if we didn't repay the money.
Desperate and vulnerable, tsunami survivors soon became the perfect targets for the illegal organ trade in India. It's become known as the red market. Every year, 100,000 Indians need organ replacements, a demand that drives an illegal supply, with some organs even being sold to a small percentage of desperate transplant tourists. In 1994, the Indian government passed a law meant to regulate organ donation in this country. Each recipient was supposed to get an organ from a donor who was in some way known to them. Even though each transplant was supposed to be approved by a committee of doctors, it's almost impossible for anyone to stop money transactions from happening under the table. In general, when a recipient finds out that he or she needs an organ donation, they normally approach friends or family for a match. When those options are exhausted, rogue doctors or hospital staff can introduce the recipient to a broker, usually a former illegal donor too, who can scout nearby poor neighborhoods for someone who is willing to sell their kidney and go under the knife.
They are necessarily forced to buy kidneys from outside, for which they circumvent this law. And doctors also turn a blind eye to this happenings.
The transplants from the donor to the recipient take place in the hospital simultaneously. The donor ends up making a little over $1,000, while the brokers can profit almost double that.
I went to the broker. He said he will give me 50,000 rupees for my kidney. It was supposed to be much more, but the broker cheated us.
The donors also frequently are robbed of their health.
Before I used to run around and work a lot, but now I can't do as much work as I used to. I find it difficult even to lift a pot of water. I can't go to work. I have severe pain in my abdomen and my chest.
And while horror stories of the red market are exchanged among locals, those with no options left are forced to take extreme measures, sacrificing their health just to stay alive. Priya Sridhar, RT, Chennai, India.